All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're talking about one of the most unbelievable survival strategies in the entire animal kingdom, and it all belongs to this amazing bird, the hornbill. Seriously, what you're about to hear is an incredible story of architecture, of absolute trust, and a family's fight to survive against some pretty crazy odds. So the first thing you have to understand about the hornbill is that their whole world revolves around partnership. I mean, these birds are famously monogamous. They find a mate, and that's it, for life. This isn't just some casual thing. Their entire survival strategy, everything we're about to talk about, is built on this rock-solid foundation of loyalty. And this expression, which comes from our sources in Thailand, just nails it perfectly. It's one husband, one wife. See, once they're old enough, they leave their flock, find that one special partner, and they're off to start a life together. And it's this dedicated couple that becomes the hero of our story today. But before they can even dream about starting a family, this new couple faces a massive problem. They have to find a home. And for hornbills, this isn't just a challenge, it's a full-blown housing crisis. Okay, so here's the thing that changes everything. Hornbills don't build nests. They can't. They are completely 100% dependent on finding a hole in a tree that's already there. So you can think of them as renters in a housing market with basically zero inventory. Their entire future depends on the real estate of the forest. And they are incredibly picky tenants. I mean, they can't just choose any old hole. Their checklist is super specific. First off, the tree has to be alive. It's often got to be a certain type of softwood tree. It needs to be super tall, one of those emergent trees that pokes up above the rest of the forest. And on top of all that, the hole itself has to be just the right size. It's a non-negotiable list, and finding a place that checks all the boxes is insanely hard. And check this out. This is a perfect illustration of the problem. What scientists found is that different types of hornbills don't really compete with each other because they're looking for different sized cavities. You can see it right here. The big, great hornbill, that's the triangles, needs a much bigger opening than, say, the smaller oriental pied hornbill, which are the X's. Now, that's great for keeping the peace, but it also means the search for that one perfect home is even more specific. So, you might be asking, just how rare are these perfect homes? Well, one study found that in a key habitat, the two tree species they used the most had a density of just 1.3 trees per hectare. Now, a hectare is about 2.5 acres. Think of it like 1.5 football fields. Imagine having to search that entire area just to find one, maybe two possible trees. It's a huge task. Okay, so let's say they do it. They find that 1 in a million home. This is where the story goes from difficult to just mind-blowing. The female hornbill gets ready for what you can only call the ultimate lockdown, a self-imposed prison sentence that is totally unique in the bird world. So here's how it goes down. The female goes inside the tree cavity, and then she starts to seal the entrance shut from the inside. She literally builds a wall using her own poop as plaster. The only thing she leaves is a tiny little vertical slit, just wide enough for a beak to pass through. And then she stays in there, sealed in total darkness for up to 18 weeks. That's over 4 months, all to lay her eggs and raise her chick in safety. I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. She is completely trapped. She can't get food, she can't escape from a predator, she can't even see daylight. Her life, and the life of her chick, now depends completely and totally on one individual, her partner. This is an act of just absolute total trust. So, with the female locked away inside her fortress, the spotlight swings entirely over to the male. His job becomes simple and all-consuming. For those 4 long months, he is the only provider. It's all on him. He has to find enough food for himself, for his partner, and for their growing baby, and then bring it back and pass it through that tiny little slit in the wall. Day after day after day, the fate of his entire family literally rests on his wings. Now, this whole behavior has fascinated people for a really long time. But what's cool is that modern science has started to uncover some pretty big surprises, busting some old myths and showing us just how delicate this whole setup really is. So let's get down to it. What is this incredible plaster actually made of? This biological cement she uses to build her fortress wall. For a long time, everybody thought they knew the answer. So the old story, the one you'd see in books for decades, was that she made a plaster out of mud, dirt, and her droppings. And that makes sense, right? But get this, the real story, figured out through careful science, is way more amazing.
it turns out there's no mud at all. It's made only from her own fecal material.
And here's the proof right here. When scientists actually analyzed the chemistry of the plaster and compared it to the local soil, the difference was just stark. Look at the numbers. The plaster is super high in nitrogen and organic stuff, and really low in ash, which is the chemical signature of poop. Soil, it's the complete opposite. It's not even close. This is the smoking gun.
So if there's no mud, how does it all stick together? Well, the genius is in her diet. Her droppings are packed with thousands of tiny, undigested fig seeds. And these little seeds act as a binding agent. They hold the whole thing together. As one researcher put it, it's much like gravel in a concrete mix. It's a perfect, self-contained biological solution. So cool. But here's the tough part. This incredible strategy, this fortress of trust, is built on a really fragile foundation. Research shows that hornbills do try to nest in forests that have been logged or disturbed, but their success rate is really low. Any kind of human disturbance can cause them to abandon the nest, and of course, logging takes away the huge old trees they need in the first place. The data is pretty scary. One study over 4 years found that more than half of all the known nests in the area became inactive, just gone. And that leaves us with this big, urgent question. The hornbill has evolved one of the most amazing family survival plans in all of nature, a plan built entirely on partnership, dedication, and trust. But that whole plan depends on one thing, a healthy forest full of big, old trees. So, with their homes disappearing, you have to wonder, can this extraordinary family and their impossible fortress really survive?